We're talking about War Games, and we're talking about the potential fifth member on each side. And we saw potentially the first one in Drew McIntyre after a crazy heel turn to end Monday Night Raw. So first and foremost, Steve, what's your thoughts on that?
I am probably one of the happiest heel fans on the planet right now because, listen, if you watched the Drew McIntyre when he was the Scottish psychopath with Dolph Ziggler, you understand how good Drew McIntyre is as a heel. That feud with the Shield and Ambrose, man, that's 2 for me today already. What's going on?
2. No yeet again.
No yeets. No, but like his heel run with Ziggler, and a lot of the stuff that he did on the independent scene while he was away from WWE was very heelish and very dark.
Yeah, Drew Galloway on the independent scene. He really became the Drew McIntyre he is now. He became a lot more rugged. He grew his chest hair, if you will. He was no longer this clean-shaven baby face. Even though he wasn't a baby face, he had that baby face look, you know, just oiled up to the T and shaved, right? I don't even know. I'm starting to sound sus right now. But anyways, no yeet right
no
there.
Yeet. Right? I think no yeets is going to be the trend of the show. Okay, let's run it back. But you're right. So what people need to expect is probably, and I said this on my stream last night, Drew McIntyre, with the way they are booking this, I will say it now, and we are 2 months out from 2024. Drew McIntyre is going to have the greatest heel run we have seen since Randy Orton 2009. I'll put my house on it. Randy Orton 2009 is arguably one of the biggest and best heel runs we have ever seen.
Do you think it's going to get as dark as that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But there's a turn to this, and we can talk about it a little bit more. Drew McIntyre is going to utilize the Judgment Day long enough until he gets what he wants, and Drew will be the cause of Judgment Day falling apart.
Okay, I can get behind that for sure. How do you think? So what is it? Is Drew McIntyre after a world championship? Is that the end goal for Drew, just to get back to the world title?
Oh yeah, and I think now we just guaranteed that Damian's cash in is a failure, and this leads to night 1 of WrestleMania as a triple threat for the world title. I'm adamant that this is how this works. The world title will be defended on night 1 of WrestleMania between Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and Damian Priest.
You know what? That's a really good story being told. So along the way, then we got to figure out what we're doing with Damian Priest's Money in the Bank.
Of course.
Does Drew screw over Priest from trying to cash in? Is that the start of the downfall? Like, is that the long-term play here?
I think a lot of people are going to expect Priest to try and cash in at Survivor Series, which I think something comical will happen, kind of like it has been already. Somehow something gets involved. Maybe Rhea Ripley tries to throw the case over the cage or something, and it just doesn't go. Something comical where it's just like,
sit over top of the cage.
Exactly. And then maybe Jay catches it and yeets it out. You know what I mean? But we need a yeet counter. We do need a yeet counter. But this is the thing. I think it's going to be a comical failure at Survivor Series. But then we've got 2 very dominant superstars and 2 dominant personalities that are now both heels that are now going to feel that they are in charge of what is a no leader Judgment Day. Priest just announced that he is the leader.
Yeah. Which, by the way, wild thing for him to say like that. Holy. But I thought Finn was going to drop him right then and there.
But here's the thing. Like any man, he had no balls to say it in front of his wife. And he had no balls to say it in front of Rhea Ripley. So just saying, he didn't have the balls to say it in front of Rhea, even in the backstage segment. He said he got hot.
Who needed to say, like, hey, you know what, Priest? That was ballsy, but it makes sense for War Games. So you're the leader at War Games, which could also play if they lose. Like, if the Judgment Day loses, this could be on Damian Priest.
Yep.
And maybe there's where the dissension begins even more. Maybe Drew McIntyre starts to show that, well, he's the stronger of the two, and maybe they don't need Priest anymore.
Drew already did that just on his tweet last night after the show and saying Daddy's home. Mommy and Daddy finished the show. Think about that, though. Mommy and Daddy finished the show.
So does that make Drew McIntyre Dom's Poppy?
We were saying off the air, imagine Drew McIntyre shows up on Monday Night Raw or next week wearing "I'm Your Poppy" shirt.
Come on, right?
Storytelling 101. Yeah. Storytelling 101. Yeah. So at the end of the day, imagine that. Imagine Drew McIntyre shows up and Rhea's got Mommy's on top and Drew's got "I'm Your Poppy." Dom's going to be sitting there just being like a little baby, sitting back and forward in the corner, doing the Tozawa dance.
Okay, I would pay big money to see Dominic do the Tozawa dance, all right? I would. I'd take all my money. Yeah.
But no, and this is the case. This is everything that we have to look at now. Drew McIntyre is not going to go into a faction being a lackey.
You would assume so, yeah.
With how this turn has been built out, Drew McIntyre is not going into this entire thing being a lackey. Drew's going for the title. He's still sick of Jay, but that thing with Seth Rollins still eating at him. So now,
the thing with Jay, I don't mean to interrupt, sorry, but the thing with Jay is really interesting because up until the moment where he shook hands with Rhea Ripley, I was still thinking Drew is still somewhat in the right, from his character. He's not necessarily in the wrong, and he's stuck to his guns. He hasn't forgiven Jey Uso.
Nope.
So, what he did made all the sense in the world. He screwed him out of a title, and in turn, he screwed Cody out of a title.
Yep.
But it was going after Jay, and I love that little detail. And I thought at the end, I'm like, maybe Drew hasn't fully turned, until he shook hands with Rhea Ripley. Until she showed up, and when they shook hands, I was just like, holy crap, this is actually happening. They're not going to make us wait another week. Drew McIntyre is, at least for now, tentatively in the Judgment Day.
Yep. It's a very, you're looking at something right now where you're like, the whole dynamic of Monday Night Raw has just shifted. It's there's no question on it. The entire dynamic of Monday Night Raw has completely shifted, and I think the whole roster needs to be put on notice for this. Because remember when Edge left and everyone was so sick of the Judgment Day?
Yep.
Basically going into Clash at the Castle, and they were like, "Oh, Judgment Day, God, they're so lame." Blah blah. Tell me now.
They figured it out.
They figured it out.
That's one of the best things, and I know this is going off on a tiny mini tangent here, but that's some of the best stuff with WWE when it comes to factions. They don't always nail it right out of the gate, but after about 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, they start to figure out what that faction really can be. And then they add this one extra member. Yep. And it happens all the time in these factions. I mean, hell, we're seeing it with Damage Control. We're seeing it with the Alpha Academy. They just add this one extra member that brings the group together in such a big way. It's really impressive to see what they do with their factions long term, honestly.
And sometimes the dynamic at the start just doesn't work. Like if you look at the New Day when they first came out preaching and those vignettes with the choir and all that kind of stuff, it hit, but it didn't really hit well. And then they really came into their own, acting like complete idiots. And the New Day is one of the greatest factions of all time now. And nobody's ever going to dispute that. I do want to address something. I just saw it pop up in the chat, and I'm glad. Thank you so much for reminding me. Drew has been very cryptic over the last few months on his Twitter and on his social media, on TikTok and Instagram. And everybody has been talking about it. The return of Broken Dreams. Now, I want to touch on this quickly because it's important. Because Drew with Broken Dreams was not... Broken Dreams didn't hit like it does now back then, but people still give it the acceptance and the respect that it deserves, okay? Alter Bridge and the guys that do Judgment Day's music have found a way to turn every member of Judgment Day's music into something special. Dom's, Rhea's, Finn's, because every time Finn's music hits, you hear that breath from the Demon Balor, right? Do we get, and I'll put this to the chat as well, do we get original Broken Dreams, or have they reached out to Alter Bridge or someone else to do a remix and a darker version of Broken Dreams?
I need to hear this now. I need this. Man, you just put that out there into the world, and if it doesn't happen now, I'm going to be a sad con.
So
like, you're going to be a sad con too,
yeah,
right?
I'll be a sad con.
Good to know. No, this needs to happen, man. It needs to go down.
Yeah.
Like that, you're right. The remixes of all these songs from the Judgment Day have been incredible.
Yeah.
Why not do Broken Dreams? And he keeps teasing it, man. He keeps teasing it, and he's not delivering it. Like, even he just made a TikTok or something the other day listing his 5 favorite theme songs of all time. Number 5 was Broken Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
He just, Broken Dreams, enough said.
Yeah.
Like, come on, give it to us, Drew.
Yeah, I think of really dark remix of it, and I'm just putting it out there for the chat to like really have fun with it, and some people can tweet this out and all that kind of stuff. But I was just thinking, I was after the show, I'm sitting there and I'm like, it doesn't work if it's not remixed and a dark Judgment Day. So I'm just thinking outside the box here, but the Drew McIntyre turn is something that we've needed. But I will stand on my hill saying that this might be one of the darkest and most destructive heel runs that we've seen in almost a decade.
I'd love to see it, man. I really would. I think it would be great TV seeing a dark Drew McIntyre. Like, go as dark as you can. Go as psychotic as you can. He's called the Scottish Psychopath for a reason. Yeah. Let's evolve that name. Let's give it a reason as to why he's a psychopath.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, let us know in the comments on what you're feeling on the Drew McIntyre turn and the joining and making Judgment Day probably the most dominant faction that we actually have now. In WWE, because the bloodline's falling apart. Let us know in the comments. I really appreciate it, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and put the bell on for all notifications that are Straight Shoot. Our socials will be down below in this video, but like always, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.